Good morning. No, no. This holiday season, for many dogs and children, it's filled with excitement and overwhelm, and the word no. Stop. Don't touch that. Leave it. But this behavior doesn't come from nowhere. Behavior is often a signal that needs are not being met. Good morning. I'm Jody Fitzgerald, and this is A Dog's View. I help people understand life from their dog's perspective. And when we understand the why behind behavior that is happening, we stop fighting it and start fixing the cause. Dogs are always communicating, and behavior is information. To really help understand and learn and to find the solutions, we need to understand total welfare. This means looking at the whole dog, not just the behavior at that time. When the needs are not met, behavior is often the symptom. We don't fix behavior, we meet the needs. Total welfare is a concept that I like to use to talk about with family dog mediation. We talk about the total welfare model, which focuses on the 5 domains of animal welfare. And when we start with looking at their needs, we have to look at all these things. So, looking at their needs, we need to look at their nutrition and how they're feeling, their pain, their physical health. And if their nutrition is not adequate, maybe it's the gut health, they're not, or maybe they can't eat good because of teeth. There's a wide variety of reasons if we're not feeding good food, if the dog is not getting adequate uh, uh, but they need it nutrition wise for their body and for their energy expenditure. They're not going to be happy dogs. You may see this bad behavior, what we describe as bad behavior, but it's often it can be a symptom of something going on. So if a dog's not feeling well, it can't self-regulate. It could become irritable, be more reactive, have a lower stress tolerance, or restlessness that can start from not feeling so great because they're not getting the good nutrition that's going to give them the energy and fulfill their bodily needs. So I always have to think about that for total welfare, meeting the needs of dogs. And physical environment. So dogs are, they live in these captive spaces that we have them in, and they're in our human environment that was not really designed for them at all. Too much noise, especially during these holiday seasons, too much noise, clutter, confinement. Their space is smaller. They don't have a doorway to go outside like we can. And things are also unpredictable. That can all cause stress for a dog. And during this holiday time, we have a lot of people coming in. There is a lot of activity. This all increases pressure. So we need to think about how environment is what we can use to, and how we can manage it and manipulate it to support the regulation that our dogs need, not overwhelm. And it's the same with children, right? We're going to keep them safe. So it's a lot of the thinking about the welfare for dogs and behavior and this getting stuck in the know can really make a difference when you start looking at the environment. And they need to have, dogs also need to have, for wellness, they need to have physical exercise, and they need to have movement for their bodies. And dogs under stress will often under exercise. If they're not getting enough exercise and then they get stressed, they will start getting more seek stimulation, and they may get into more trouble just to get that attention, and that um, even if it's not good, they'll be seeking attention if they're not getting enough exercise. So then they're going to be grabbing maybe something they shouldn't, or chasing a child when they shouldn't, and maybe even they wouldn't normally if they weren't under the stress and they weren't having their time. Maybe the regular walk isn't happening anymore on these days because everything is so busy. So everything is changing. So we have to think about that. They'll get restless. They can get into trouble if they're not getting their needs met. specifically talking about right now during the season, but anytime these are the things can be happening. And over arousal, all this excitement in the environment, um, can look like bad behavior for the dog, but often it's just not. Its needs not being met, and that might be needing to go outside and run around more, or it can also be brain work needed. So, and the other, dogs really to think about with the environment, and they're interacting for their total welfare. They need safe ways to interact with this environment, to explore, to play, and to also be able to get away from the situation or the environment if they need to. So not all dogs want the same social situations and experiences, and we have to respect their consent and take a look at their individual needs for comfort. And this is where the legs model comes in, because dogs are always learning, whether we are teaching or not, they are watching. So when we are repeatedly saying no, 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 I think this can be very confusing for a dog, because it can teach frustration and confusion by actually, when you're mad and you're saying no, 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 sometimes it can become a game, and the dog thinks that you're joining in, and then you get more frustrated, and then the dog may just amp up even more, and think at first thinking it's excitement and happiness, but especially when you don't end up being in a happy ending after the dog has done way too much of something you've wanted and you've yelled no 100 times, you're going to get frustrated and mad, and the dog will be very confused. And sometimes I believe, for example, if a dog is barking at something out the window and you're like, no, no, stop barking, and if you're yelling it at them, they're going to think that they may think that you're joining in. So it's really can be very confusing to dogs. We have to help them with clarity. And if you're getting stuck in that no, we know we need to change. So we can help them learn different ways to deal with things when we help them by us learning that the no isn't working, and we need to help change that and find whether we're redirecting, but we have to be clear and helping them and reward those good choices. They will learn. Dogs will thrive on making us happy. So when we let them know they're doing the good thing, and what we would the good making good choices and decisions, it teaches them how to be successful. So learning is a big thing that we get to work with and help them with, and we are all learning along the way with them. So just recognizing that, and they're always watching you. The environment, for the legs of the dog, as I've already discussed, the environment, if it's constantly tempts the dog, it may be setting the dog up to fail. So if there's something that is there that the dog is always going to start playing with, especially a puppy, but it's like puppy proofing. You have to take things away and put them not accessible to the puppy. So we want to set them up to succeed, not to fail. So the environment also, puppy proofing really matters. Managing them in these situations is not failure, it's support. Helping them to understand what they can't have and what they can have and what they can do, and encouraging that success, and changing the environment before blaming the dog is very, very important and very helpful. It's just prevention, and it can make life so much easier. Genetics. In the legs model, genetics, this is often the most misunderstood piece. People are missing. Dogs were bred for specific functions. And even looking at the work of Ray Coppinger's, animals have species typical behaviors, and that must be expressed for their well-being, like foraging or hazard avoidance and social reproduction. And we also, for foraging, the dogs need to do things like sniffing. This is very natural for them, natural for dogs to do: sniffing, searching, working for food. Hazard avoidance, assessing the risk. A dog is always going to be choosing their safety and thinking about what's safe or good for them. So if you're getting really mad, that may also shut down a dog, right? Dogs can be like scared of it right away. So there's other ways to manage it if that's happening, for sure. Let me help you with that, because the dog, dogs, you don't need to be cowering. They need confidence. And if they're cowering and running away, that's a sign that they need some help with their confidence. And fear is not good. We don't want to make them fearful of us. Dogs also have this need for territorial management. So monitoring environment, monitoring maybe a favorite toy, monitoring their favorite people. Um, and this is very important in food too, right? So recognizing this time of year can be very difficult, and we need to help them and support them with this. And they definitely need to have their own part of that environment that is designated to them. Um, and social interactions, we need to help them to they have to need healthy relationships with and connection and communication with people, with other animals. We get to help them succeed with this, and reproductive and social drives. So even when altered, sometimes these influences are still influencing behaviors, these genetics. So when any of these needs are blocked or ignored, dogs will start to look for alternate outlets. And these outlets often show up as behavior problems. And for the self of the dog, in the legs model, once again, every dog experiences these needs differently, depends on their age, their health, their history, their trauma, their own personality. There's not a one size fits all solution for dogs. There's a wide variety, and every dog is different. And understanding that individual dog changes everything. I love to compare dogs with humans. I think it helps us to understand a little more of what they need and what we need to do, what we can do and need to do to help them, is by looking at humans. Human children need to play to develop. Play teaches emotional regulation. It teaches problem solving. It teaches social skills. Children who don't get appropriate outlets struggle in life. And dogs are no different. Enrichment is developmental, not optional. When a dog starts barking out the window, like I said, and we start yelling at them, the dog just thinks you're joining in. So we need to find another way to help them deal with that. And just that, even that energy, and change it up. And there's lots of different hacks, like even talking to them. We talk to children about the world and explain things to them. When the more you do it, the better it is for them, because they will understand things, and we're helping them and supporting them in the human world. So dogs need this too. And enrichment is needed as well as a welfare support. So we look at it supports mental health, emotional regulation, confidence, relationship building. And a fulfilled dog is a calmer dog, a more resilient dog, and will make better choices in life. There's so many great games. If you go to my YouTube channel, I have an enrichment uh, playlist, and I have several games. I mentioned the muffin tin. It was one of the first enrichment games I ever started doing with my dogs. Now I do much more, but the muffin tin is super easy, with a muffin tin and tennis balls. And you put the treats, or you can put their food. You can make their meals better with it. Put them underneath the bowls and put it down, and the dog can sniff them out. They can learn quite easily to do it quite quickly. And that's why I like snuffle mats, or just search with treats or their food. Um, so the core message here, what I want to tell you is, behavior we don't like is often a sign of unmet needs, stress, a poor fit between the dog and the environment. Dogs aren't being difficult, they're communicating. So if you want a better understanding of your dog and how to help them, check out that playlist. Book a call if you're struggling, please. You don't need to live in the cycle of no. It's just a merry-go-round. No, 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 no. If you're doing that, you know you need to change what you're doing and find an alternative method. Sometimes it takes a little work, but I promise you we can find a way to help your dog understand, and you understand how to help them. So let's do less suppressing and stopping the behavior, more understanding, more fulfilling of their needs. We'll get better welfare and better relationships. Thank you so much for watching me. Please don't hesitate to share anything that you have about your dog and your difficulties and maybe your no experience, I will put a booking link in my comments for you to book a call if you would like to. And I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day.